3. Joining us is SUNY Cortland's Joe Lopez. Joe, how are you?
Hey, how you doing? How's everything?
We're doing very well. How about yourself tonight?
I'm doing well, actually. I'm at a fan festival for season ticket holders of the Utah Blaze right now. A place called Planet Play. It's pretty fun. A little bit of laser tag and buffet style food with all the fans. So it's pretty cool.
Excellent, excellent. Are a lot of the Utah fans, Joe? Are they giving you the nice West Rocky Mountain welcome, being a kid from New York?
Yeah, the one thing about Utah Blaze and their fans, man, they love their players, and this is what they have here, and it's just they love everybody on the team here, and it's just cool interacting with them right now. I just played a game of there's like a football throw-in competition with this dude. His name is Jeremy. He's 12 years old. He's been following the team pretty much for the past like 2-3 years, and killed me in it, unfortunately. So he's got bragging rights for this year.
All right, well, I want to turn it over to Dan for your actual factuals, and as I always say, Dan, let it rip.
Okay, we got Joe Lopez here, defensive back from Cortland State, 6'1", 190 pounds, runs the 40 in about 4'5", short shuttle in 4.13. Has a 9.9 broad jump. He is currently ranked the number 25 player in our mock draft this year. He's a Division III All-American from Cortland State, and as he said, is playing with the Utah Blaze to finish out their season. And Joe, my first question for you was, when you got the call to go out to the Utah Blaze, your reaction and your experience those first couple days.
To be honest, when I got the call from Utah, I almost cried. Actually, I pretty much cried a little bit. Yeah, so I was with my mother. We took a trip for ourselves. I wasn't sure what was going on, my football future. And, they gave me a shot. I was completely thankful. I was just took advantage of the opportunity. I flew out the next week, and, a week later they wanted to sign me. So it really is I'm just very thankful for the opportunity. And it's been a blessing ever since.
Yeah, it was funny. I got an email from the Utah Blaze general manager about a week before that, asking if you had looking for a quarterback, a defensive back, and an offensive lineman. And he said, "Hey, I need to see your list." And I sent him out our top 350 in our mock draft, which you ranked very high on. I know also Kyle Ray was a D3 All-American from Franklin, also went out there on that, went to the Blaze as well. Talk about, Joe, because a lot of guys don't understand how sort of the structure works when you get a call out like that. Could you talk about how the idea of like the 2-day contract works from your experience of what you saw, and sort of the difference between coming out for a 2-day contract and actually getting a contract to play on the team?
Well, basically, it was my first experience with the 2-day contract waiver. Pretty much bring you in, and it kind of throw you into the fire. It was arena football for one. I've never had experience playing indoor football in this type of manner, which was a great experience, to be completely honest with you. And they just, make sure to give you a playbook right when you get there, learn the coverages, learn the calls and everything just as quick as possible. And, you practice just like the rest of the team. Like, once you're there, you are a member of the Utah Blaze, and that's how they treat you here. And, it's just that, for 2 days, if they want to keep you for more, they let you know they want to keep you for more. And fortunate enough for me, they wanted to keep me for the rest of the year, for the rest of the season at least, so.
Yeah, and with, just for all our members out there, if you check out Joe's stats, you go to NCAA.com, he's the top 20 Division III in interceptions. It had about 6 games in a row there, Joe. During the season, you had an interception. You had 2 the first week against Keene. What really stood out to me was, you above all the cornerbacks that I really looked at, broke on the ball. And that's one thing I look at when I look at cornerbacks, is how do you break on the ball? And you don't have to give away some of the secrets, but if you like, what would you do as a corner and defensive back to sort of get that jump on the wide receiver to make a big play?
One of the biggest things I like to do is just, pretty much bait the quarterback into believing that you're somewhere where you're not supposed to be.
Sounds pretty simple, but it's really not.
Yeah, I think that's a real good answer. Also, Joe, you had, over 60 tackles from that quarterback position. So you're, that ability to get in the mix really helps. I'm sure they have you out at Utah playing a lot of different special teams and having a lot of different roles out there. Because you talk about, being physical, and for all the quarterbacks that might be listening out there, that might say, I don't know if I really want to get in the mix with tackling. Talk about how that's helping you right now.
We just lost him, Dan.
Okay. I thought we might have.
We'll wait for him to come back, and I have actually seen him play a little bit. Not since he went to the Blaze, but I had seen him play a little bit in high school because he's local to me. He's a Suffolk County kid from here on Long Island, and I was aware of him a little bit up at Cortland. So I'm anxious. We're anxious to get him back on the line and find out, what the transition was for him from coming from the metropolitan area of New York City, Long Island area, going up to the middle of upstate New York, and now out to Utah. I'd really like to know, he talks about how they treat you like family, which you and I know anywhere we travel, anywhere we're, I'm always surprised how nice people are. I guess being a New Yorker, I'm kind of cynical. I know you being from D.C., we can occasionally, us guys from the big cities can be a little cynical at times, and when you get to, some place where people are really nice to you, you're surprised. So we have Joe back on the line now, and let's get his mic open. We're having a little trouble getting his mic open, but Joe, hang with us, and there we go.
Hello?
Glad we got you back, Joe.
Hey, how you doing? Sorry about that.
No problem.
What happened there?
I was just going to ask you real quick because you're a Long Island guy originally, and I'm a Bronx boy, but I live on the island now. We were just talking with Dan. Us guys from the New York area and from the East Coast, we can tend to be kind of cynical when we first meet people. But I know everywhere we travel, especially when you go out west, and I've done some traveling too out there where you are, and you're part of the country right now. Are you ever surprised by how friendly people are to you, and how you're perceived as an athlete, former college and now professional athlete?
I definitely. There is a significant difference, unfortunately, from New York style of, people just coming up to you, complete strangers, not really giving you too much time to, say hi, as opposed to here where everyone's really friendly. Everyone's got a smile on their face, they're very pleasant. I love New York. Don't get me wrong, I love New York. I love the style of New York. But here, they are a little bit more friendly. It's funny, actually, because I haven't been really used to it, so I'm getting used to it now.
Right, it takes a little while, right? I know it took you a while.
It does take a little while.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll swing it back to Dan. I know Dan has a few more football questions for you before I get back to you with some other stuff.
Okay.
Joe, like you said, getting the call out there. Talk about what it was like. You go through the practice and they tell you, hey, look, you're going to stay, you're going to play in games. What was it like that first time, you go to the locker room before the game and you see the jersey and the helmet and you put it on and you walk out of the tunnel. Talk about the feelings you had when your first game.
There's so many emotions. It's so difficult to put into words. Like even now, I can't even believe that I got to this stage of my career, doing what I love to do, because that was like the biggest goal of mine. I have to thank a lot of my friends and family that have been able to support me and make sure I got to this point. Because I let them know it's like this is what I want to do. This is what I want to make a career out of. Just seeing that jersey for the first time, I tears welled up. I was just so happy and so anxious to put it on. And then we went through the tunnel. All the smoke and the lights flashing at Energy Solutions Arena, and just having the crowd cheer you on as you walk through. It's one of those indescribable experiences that you really can't get at a 9-to-5 job in an office. I mean, to be completely honest with you, I have like the best job in the world right now, and hopefully I'll continue to do this for as long as I can.
Yeah, I was telling Dr. Bill tonight. I've seen it. I like seeing D3 guys get an opportunity to play at the pro level. Some guys don't feel that they're good enough players at that level. I feel there are. But your position, I would say, I was trying to really think of defensive backs. You see a lot of guys play D3 that make it pro from, wide receiver and some offensive line and, some linebackers, some quarterbacks.
Even running backs.
Even running backs. Very few defensive backs. I mean, you really put, yourself in a really sort of a unique category there. You got the last game coming up I believe this weekend. Talk about what you're hoping to get out of that as a team and for yourself personally.
Well, personally, I hope that we get the W. I mean, unfortunately, we were knocked out of playoff contention last week. So this game is just kind of a game, just to show the fans of Utah, the whole Arena Football League that Utah Blaze is here to stay. That they're going to be a competitive team for years to come. And Coach James has done an excellent job of building a great foundation here of just bringing in a great group of guys that know how to play and know how to play well together. And, for me personally, it's just to get an opportunity to play well and have that type of film so that, fortunately enough, I get an opportunity somewhere else in a different league where they can see me and they realize, this guy can play regardless of what school he came from. Hitting back on that D3, it's just a label. It doesn't really mean anything. All that matters is what you do on the field, and regardless of what position you play, And I've seen that too. I've actually looked up a bunch of the defensive backs that come from my level and all the way up to professional ranks. I don't really see many, so it's that'd be another thing to say that I was able to do it at the position I am at.
Yeah, and what's funny, Joe, is when I put you up there on our mock draft, I had some players going, "Why is that guy up there?" I said,
we hear that, Dan. We hear that all the time, and you know what?
I was like, "What? Just watch the film. Watch the film. Look at the stats. Look at his size. Look at the speed." And like you said, Joe, right now you go into next year's off season. I mean, the NFL's coming up now, and you got CFL's going to roll. A lot of guys don't understand. The CFL will start looking at players in November and December. You're now Joe Lopez, AFL player. Where did he go to school? Portland State. Oh, he plays in the AFL. That's all I care about now. And a lot of guys don't understand that you need to start somewhere. I've seen so many D3 guys turn down opportunities to play in the IFL or the FIFL or, the UIFL because I don't know if I want to play there. But you put yourself in a great position for the next coming year, at least my opinion.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I have to throw something out to you, Joe. I think this is important. A lot of people don't realize those people who are in the tri-state area here, where you're from and where I am, and I'm from. We know that Cortland State, with the exception of this year, has been the training camp home of the New York Jets. So I just sort of throw it out there for the listeners from other parts of the country. But how much interaction did you have the last couple of years going up there early for summer workouts as the Jets were getting ready to leave camp? I know, obviously, Jim Leonard mentioned that, he watched practice a few times up there, and he said he's seen some guys. I hope he was talking about you, that he said, I wish there were more guys, that played with more heart, at the pro level, that play with the same kind of heart that these guys play, with Cortland State. So I hope he was talking about you.
I hope so, too. I mean, that's the first time I'm hearing that.
But, people who know that what you do and who look at the film know that you are always around the ball. You are very rarely out of position. You have a good sense of which way the route is going. And I think that's very important for defensive backs. Not a lot of defensive backs could do that or are able to do that. A lot of guys get faked out really easily. And, the play is 10 yards behind them and it's going for a touchdown or a long gain. And you're not one of those guys, which at your level is very rare. You don't get burnt very often.
Yeah, I pride myself, and that has to do with a lot of coaching from my first year there all the way to my last year. Just pride on the good technique and just a good system to play in. And, my coach, Rebrovich, our defensive coordinator over at Cortland, he prided on, being in the right position and playing hard. And that's what you got out of not just me, but the whole Cortland staff and the whole Cortland team. Unfortunately, he moved up in rank to go to coach at Syracuse now, but my old defensive backs coach, Ola Adams, he just got the D coordinating job over there at Cortland, and the way he coaches and the way he runs his whole plan, there's gonna be no drop off this year.
Right, and I know Coach Adams is excited for you to be on with us tonight, so he sends his regards. But I want to go back a little bit now to your high school career. Talk a little bit about how that gave you the foundation to be where you are now. Most guys always have something great to say about a high school coach, and I'm sure you're no exception.
Oh, yeah. My coach, his name was Tom Christie. I coached for about 32, 33 years. I think his last year was my last year as well. And, he had, at my time, he had Suffolk County, which is where I'm from. He had the coaching record for the most wins as a coach. And, he is one of those old school type coaches. And,
right.
You work hard and you pay your dues. You're gonna see the results. And that's the mentality that I carry forth. And that's something that, he gave to me that I take into, like, my daily life. Is, you just work hard. And, like, you work harder than the person next to you. You work harder than the person in front of you, behind you, so that, you're always trying to get yourself better. And you work really hard for it. That's something that he instilled in me and a bunch of my other coaches as well back at the high school level. It's just, that's where the foundation was kind of set. Just working hard, and that's how you get the things that you want in your life.
I know he's one of a handful of coaches, high school coaches in the state of New York, 200 plus wins. I guess obviously that's because of how many years. Very nice man. Got to meet him not this past year, but a year ago at the Boomers Ice and charity game, and he received a plaque for 30 years of coaching excellence. So obviously, that's good stuff that rubs off on you. Talk a little more about, taking what he taught you, here on the island and moving up to Cortland. Big difference, as you said, as we alluded to at the beginning, big difference between, the New York, the downstate mentality to the upstate.
Yeah, it's definitely, my biggest, what's the word I'm looking for? The biggest effect that I've seen in that is that, when I came out here, I've seen more people from different type of areas, like down south. Some guys are from California. We have a teammate that's actually all the way up from Alaska. And, as opposed to going to Cortland, where most of the guys are from, the tri-state area mainly. The biggest thing that I've noticed is just the accents, to be completely honest with you. It's kind of hard to hear that southern drawl that some of my teammates have here. But other than that, like that over there, down at the southern states, it's more of like a mentality. Football is for those guys. They just, they live, breathe, and die by football. As opposed to New York, where they love football, they love their football so much, and it's just it's kind of hard to explain in words. It's just the biggest thing is that I can take from both of them is that downstate, upstate, wherever you're going, if you're playing football, that's the type of camaraderie that you can create with these guys. And as long as you're playing the same sport, they're going to like you regardless.
Yeah, and obviously everybody, all the Southern boys knew you were a New Yorker from your accent the minute they met you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that was an easy tell for those guys.
All right. Well, we want to talk a little bit now about your membership in BSN, and I want to swing that back over to Dan because I know you have an interesting take on what brought you to us, to our network, and getting involved. So, Dan, why don't you finish out the segment?
Yeah, Joe, I think the first time we met was up at the FCS Senior Scout Bowl, and you got to participate in our combine. You went through every drill you could go through. Talk about your experience at that combine, and talk about your experience in the game and how both sort of they've helped you, or if they did help you, make that transition into pro ball.
The biggest thing that I can take from those combines is definitely, the competition. Unfortunately, some of those guys, at the FCS level, had a different type of representation that didn't necessarily want them to test, just afraid of what their numbers were standing out like. And me being from the level that I was, these are FCS guys, apparently, when you look at, those type of levels and in D3, the one thing that everyone likes to talk about is the level of play and how it diminishes once you get to the lower level. And, competing in that combine and competing at the game, I realized there's little to no drop-off at all, to be completely honest with you. like once I got through that game and that combine, I knew that I can compete with anybody in the country, to be completely honest with you. So the biggest thing that I probably took from that opportunity was pretty much a confidence builder. Like I woke up and I realized that, you know, I can play at the highest level as possible. And it was just that was the biggest thing for me going into my training, off-season training, and, you know, getting ready for whatever opportunities came through for me, is that I could play at any level, because these guys, there's little to no difference with these, you know, the guys at the FCS level, some of, you know, the guys that get some scholarships, as opposed to me where, you know, I had to pay my way. You know, I'm still paying my way too, but, you know, I wouldn't have chosen another path.
Right. The funny thing is to steal a line from another guy that was there, who's also ranked very high on our list, Lear Biddle, who played at William Patterson. Hey man, I'm D3. I got nothing to lose. You know, and sometimes you get people in situations where their whole where they went to college is their mantra of, you know, well, it's almost like a status. And then, like, I try to tell guys all the time, I say, hey, look, once you break into that pro ranks, you make your first pro team, or you go to your first pro trial, especially now in your case, you made your first pro team. Hey, anybody going to ask you where you're from. I mean, they all want to keep you the job, you know, and that's, and a lot of guys aren't used to that. And sort of I played Division III football, and you sort of get to the mantra where you get a little bit, you know, you get a chip on your shoulder, and you I don't know how you feel, I don't know if you feel the same way, but you say, hey, look, man, I can play at those levels too. Maybe one situation or another prevented me from doing that, but hey, I can play there too. Talk about your mentality of being a D3 football player. Do you feel that you have a chip on your shoulder when you go out there and play now for the Blaze, and do you use that as motivation?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that's by far probably one of the biggest motivations yet. It's just these guys that you go up against, you know, they're supposed to be, you know, these top scholarship guys, you know, they didn't pay their way, you know, they were one of those highly sought out, highly touted recruits coming out of high school. Me, I go to a D3 school and everyone wants to rub me off whenever they say Cortland State. There's so few that, you know, where's that? You know, where's this? You know, where's that? You know, is that, you know, they good football? I'm like, yeah, they're really good football. I mean, they're legit. Like, you know, you kind of get a little aggravated a little bit, but not, you know, for me, I just put that into my game, and I realized, you know, I'm playing for a lot of things, not just myself, but for the whole, like, D3, you know, the D3 level. And, you know, I'm representing a lot of people that, you know, a lot of people say that they can't do what, you know, I'm trying, and I'm having some success too. And, you know, it definitely drives me every day, and it's a fun experience, and I can't wait to keep going.
Yeah, and you guys have a good team at SUNY Portland. I mean, made the playoffs this past year, you know, and I tell people, look, there's two levels of Division III football. There's, you know, Division III football, you know, teams win 3 games, 4 games. You get up into that top 15, you're going to see very small difference between 1AA teams and Division III teams. You know, talk about some of the players that you went up against in your career. You know that you were impressed with.
I mean, the first one that comes to mind is Lear, like you said before. I never went up against him personally because, you know, he's on the same side of the ball as I am. But just watching him and his work ethic, you know, how technically sound he was. I mean, he's a competitor. And when it comes to receivers, I mean, there's some receivers at Ithaca. I can't remember their names off the top of my head. You know, where they were just talented. I mean, you throw the ball up and, you know, they were going to get it regardless of where it was. You know, it depends on, like you said before, once you get to that top 15 and the D3 level, that's where the competition starts sinking in. It's ridiculous. My sophomore year, we went up against Mount Union in the semifinals of the playoffs. And,
right.
You know, I think I played against Cecil Shorts, and you can tell he was a legit player. And, you know, he was getting some looks by the NFL, and fortunately enough, he got drafted. Probably, I think, the highest drafted D3 player in history. I think that's what he was. And
I think Valdir from last year was a little higher, but you're right. He was definitely up there. And you know what? I just want to throw this out real quick. You know, when you look at the Blaze roster and you look at where everybody's from, okay, and you see Gabe Long from Utah. He's been in the NFL. You see, you see a couple of other guys from big-time college programs. Your teammate Caesar Rayford on the defensive line from Washington. Your fellow defensive back Jacoby Shepard from Oklahoma State. You got a fullback on your team from Delta State, D2, Ben Stallings. Brandon Taylor, who I also know, another D-back you played with from New Hampshire. There are a bunch of guys, and then you have you from Cortland. You have your teammate Benton Brady from Alfred. So it's really, you can see that there's a mix of guys from all over the country, and that you guys are getting together and you put together a good team on the field. And obviously, people know that arena ball is a slightly different animal than the outdoor game. And all of you guys had to make the transition from playing on a 100-yard field to playing on a 68-yard field.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, what do you think's been the hardest? What do you think's the most not hardest, but what's the most challenging part of playing indoor ball that you've experienced so far?
The hardest, well, where do I begin? It's basically just alignment and the combination of routes, because everything's in a set system. Like, you can only do so much in this game. The 3-set receivers that are going to go out for routes, there's different type of combinations. It even gets a lot easier once you realize, what teams are capable of doing as opposed to what they're going to do, because there's a lot of limitations to this game, So it's all about learning the game more than anything. Because physically, it's pretty much perfect. I mean, for defensive back, I mean, it is an offensive-minded game, obviously, with the receiver coming in motion from 20 yards out, running at your full speed once the ball snaps. I mean, you gotta get used to that. That's a little different, but other than that, I mean, it's all about different time combinations. Knowing where you need to be on the field, and realizing that there's not much space that they can do either. I mean, you're limited to what you can do, where you are on the field, but there's also a limit to what the offense can do too. So you gotta work to your advantages and just learn the system and learn what works best and what doesn't work. Being only 3 weeks in, I mean, I'm still trying to get to learn it. Unfortunately, the season's going to end, but it's a fun game, I'll tell you that. And the best part about it is just the crowd. I mean, they're right there. They're in the game just as much as you are. Just slapping their hands right before every kickoff and every kickoff return and every tackle that you made. It was just, that was a different experience, but that was a good one. That was a really fun one.
All right, well, Joe, we got to wrap up with you because the next guest is on hold. We definitely appreciate your time, and let me tell you, as somebody from the island here like you are, it's always good for me to see a local boy do well. So congratulations, and we're going to be following what you're doing, and please stay in touch.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right,
no problem. I appreciate it.
All right, have a good one.
Have a good one, Joe.
All right, see you.